So, welcome to Your Irish Connection, where we're having chats about how we do these Irish spirituality things. It's myself, Lora O'Brien, with Cathy Brigid, who is on from Cork. And we're here in June 2018 recording the live interview. So Cathy won't be coming on camera because she's a super important academic, and
I don't know about that.
well, she will be a super important academic, and unfortunately, that's still a little bit of a stuffy profession. So discretion is an important thing in this interview. So we won't be outing anybody, but we do have a fantastic picture here of the logo of the Well of Wisdom, and Cathy in the centre there. She was dressed up for the Pagan rave down in Dingle, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was great fun. Really great fun.
Yeah, at Bieltana. Yeah. I saw some of the pictures and was absolutely raging. Of course, I was working and I missed that, and I missed Ushnock, and I missed everything because I have no life because I just work all the time.
Oh, it's a type of place I could definitely see you having good crack.
Yeah.
To be honest, some year.
Let's aim for next year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to miss it again. And the music I heard was fantastic there.
Oh, it was great. It was local artists. A lot of it was sung in Irish, actually, which is great. And there was lots of sort of trad mixed with sort of rave music, which sounds terrible when you describe it, but it actually works really well.
I can imagine. And Billy Flynn was involved in the running of it, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he actually runs it.
Yeah.
That's the impression I got, and you could see him on stage having great crack.
Yeah. And it's his wife then is a musician, isn't she? She's kind of famous. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I can't. Her name's on the tip of my tongue, but yeah, she was. I think she was one of the people that was singing because you couldn't really tell, at least early, because everybody was in costume. So, you know.
Yeah, no, I heard it was amazing. And so anybody who is around Dingle in County Kerry on the for Bieltana next year, or any year probably, it'll go on, I'd say. Yeah, do check it out. So, Cathy, when and it sounded ominous, sorry. Now. I'll just get my cat right and stroke it. When and where did your interest in Irish spirituality begin?
Okay. Well, I was actually thinking about this earlier today to try and come up with an intelligent answer. Basically, I always had an interest in history and archaeology from when I was very young. Mm-hmm. I spent most of my childhood wandering in and out of the local library. My mum was very interested in making sure my sister and I read a lot because she was an avid reader and she loved history. So just as I think I was about 6 when I joined the local library, and I had dyslexia as well. I still do. So she wanted to encourage us to read. So, to help that. So I spent a lot of summers down in the library, and just as I got older, I got into all the sort of typical things like dinosaurs and, all that sort of history stuff. And I kind of went further and further on, and eventually I started wandering into the adult section when I was about 8 or 9 because I ran out of books to read in the kids section.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think this is a familiar story for a lot of people. It's a small local library in Dublin, but I basically I ended up in the adult section, and I ended up wandering over to the history section. And I was thinking this morning, what was the first book I ever actually read? And I think it was Michael J. O'Kelly's Early Ireland.
Oh.
Yeah, I picked that book up when I can remember sitting down and reading it. I think I was about 8 or 9 when I picked it up. I was quite young. It was around the time I would have been doing my communion, that kind of age, maybe a little bit older. But yeah, it's kind of ironic, but, just a little bit. But I ended up picking up the book anyway, and I read it as best I could at that age. And I kind of developed a lot of interest in mythology and history, and I kept reading from there. And I think then when I was about, I think I was about 11 or 12, I picked up a copy of The Tawn by Liam McIshton, the sort of children's version of it. Now it's still a pretty good version. I mean, there's some things obviously they're going to be different from the standard version.
Yeah.
Some things you probably can't put in a kid's book, but you know, that did get my interest a lot, and that's I still have my copy of it somewhere in my giant library of books.
Yeah.
But that really kind of cemented my interest in Irish mythology. So then, as I was going up through my teens, I started reading books by Michael Scott, the Irish author who wrote a lot of mythology books.
Yeah.
I still have some of them actually across from me here on the bookshelf, but that was really kind of what cemented my interest in Irish mythology. And when I was younger, I just sort of remember thinking to myself, well, whatever happened to the people who worshipped these figures? Because, you know, they were like, you know, the Greek gods, the Roman gods, the Egyptian gods, whatever happened to these people? And as I went along, I kind of discovered kind of by accident that there were actually people still worshipping these gods and still doing work with this sort of thing. And I picked up a terrible book in the library by Aideen McCoy.
Oh.
I actually got a... no, it wasn't actually. I haven't read Witta. That's actually... I refused to buy a copy of it firsthand. I want to try and find a secondhand copy. So it was actually Celtic Myth and Magic.
Oh God.
Which is and I found a copy of it recently and I bought it just for the crack because I found it for €1.50 in the local charity shop, so I have it for sort of nostalgia reasons. But it's sitting over across from me right now. It's hilarious. But I picked up that book, and you know, I knew a lot of the stuff in it was rubbish, you know, just even from reading mythology in general. But I think that was my introduction to the fact that this was still a thing that was happening. So I basically went from there and I found better books. And when I hit kind of university, I decided to study it in a more academic fashion. And from there, I got involved with the local pagan community because I was aware that there was a pagan community in Ireland, but I couldn't really get involved in it until I kind of moved out and was really an adult. So I spent my first year of college doing my own pagan thing on my own. And then I met my friend Danielle and we went to Féile Dríochta, which is where I think I met you. And a lot of the other people. And then it kind of just went from there. And I joined the Well of Wisdom community, and that's kind of really where I am now.
And okay, well, you've I'm wondering now, what year was that when you came to Féile Dríochta first? Because that was the first year that I met you, and yourself and Danielle showed up.
It was my second year of college, so it would have been, let me see, I started college in 2011, so it would have been, I think, 2012? I think it would have been 2012.
2012. I just realised that Danielle has just joined in, and she's in the chat here. I'm after knocking off my I don't know what I did. I'm after knocking off my presentation mode, so forgive the banners on. I don't know if you can see them, but
oh no, that's probably me because I'm not good with Zoom. Zoom tends to misbehave around me, so that's probably my fault.
Okay. Well, Danielle has just popped into the chat there and waved to both of us, and she said 2012, just as you were saying it. So.
That's good. I'm glad to get independent confirmation of that, because I'm not good at remembering when I did things, but yeah, it would have been 2012, October, I think, 2012.
Yeah, so we would have been in the Camden Court at that point, would we?
Yeah, I think so, because my family are not far from there. So what we used to do is we'd, until Féile Dríochta finished recently, myself and her used to come up every year and stay with my family, and we'd, you know, go to Féile D, and then we'd kind of spend the day in Dublin doing whatever else we wanted to do, usually going around kind of the museum and stuff like that.
And so like, after being on your own for so long, what was was it a bit overwhelming when you first kind of went to Féile Dríochta and that? Because if it was just yourself and Danielle first, but there was a pagan society you're in UCC, right? Yeah,
there was. They actually disbanded a year or two before I went to college. Okay. I knew there were, because when I originally got into college, I started looking up societies to see, you know, what was there that I might be interested in getting involved in. And I actually found the website. I'm not sure if the website's still around, but there was a website at the time for the old pagan society. And I went looking for it actually on the open day, because they used to have a society and club open day. They still do. But I went looking for it and I was told it's actually gone. It's been gone for a year or two. Right. So I think they finished officially in 2009, I think, or 2010. So I just missed it. But then I got involved with like the local reenactment society and stuff like that. So that's actually where I met Danielle. So that it still worked out well.
Yeah.
I met other people through that.
Mórrígan, was it?
Yeah, Mórrígan. It's still going now. Someone else runs it now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think Paul McAndrew was running the Pagan Society in UCC for years, and while he was in college, obviously, and I think it finished after he left. Now I could be wrong on that. If you have clarification on that, add it into the comments. Anybody listening?
Well, I know Danielle actually was the auditor for a while,
Right.
and I think it finished just after she left.
Okay.
She can probably clarify that for me.
Yeah.
But it was before, because I met Danielle when she came back to do her postgrad.
Right.
She was in college a couple of years before I was, so not calling her old. But no, I met her when she came back to do her postgrad. So I think at that stage it had been pretty much dead in the water for a couple of years. There always has been like a very small pagan community in kind of the college, but I don't think there was enough to kind of get a society up and running really, which is I think it's kind of the same story across all the universities, because I know there's a few other ones that have kind of they've risen and then they've died. And that's the end of it.
And it takes like one or two really, really committed people, and then when they leave college, then it kind of, if there's nobody to take over, then it just kind of sinks again.
That's what tends to happen in college societies just in general, even the really big ones, because you might have a person running it for 3 or 4 years and then they leave and then they're kind of left back to square one.
And okay, so what sort of things do you do on a daily, weekly, monthly, or seasonal basis to explore or express your Irish spirituality?
Right. Well, I suppose on a seasonal basis, I do, our local temple group, Well of Wisdom, we do rituals and moots. So we do a moot about once a month, bar 1 or 2 months during the summer where we take a bit of a break. But we have about 6 or 7 rituals a year marking the 4 main festivals, and we also mark like the solstices and equinoxes as well, just because it kind of fits well with the we're trying to do a standardized sort of thing that anybody can get involved with. But we write and run rituals basically based as far as we physically can on Irish mythology and folklore practices.
Right.
Because what we're trying to do is, I think it's really important, is we're trying to give people sort of a system that they can take and start running with, basically, because it can be very, very overwhelming, especially if you're very new to it. For me, it's just something that I've been reading for 15 years, probably longer. But somebody who's only just dipping their toe in the water, it can be a lot to deal with. So we try to run the open rituals so people can kind of come along, get an idea of different things. So we've done we've blessed Brigid's crosses. We've done we've done fire processions, around. I think we went to Limerick one year for the summer solstice for Anya, but we're going to Drumbeg, I think, this year, just because it's easier to get to. But we've done stuff like that, and then we leave offerings. We've done May bushes, all the sort of folkloric things that you would expect. On a daily or weekly basis, I have a pretty stripped back practice. I maintain a small, well, not really small, I suppose it's a kind of ever expanding shrine area. I try to keep it contained to one room, so that's I have a room that I can throw all my stuff in. But I maintain a shrine, and I maintain shrines for certain gods that I would work with, and I try to read as much as possible and try to keep up to date with different practices and what different people are doing, because I'm always interested in how other people are doing the sort of Irish spirituality thing, because there's so many ways you can do it. It always interests me when I see people from outside Ireland actually as well, because it'd be very hard for me, I think, if I was living outside Ireland to do it. So I'm always interested in how people outside actually do it, and I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and that was the reason that I actually started these interviews, was because there's not that many Irish people who are public about what they're doing, for a start, the ones who are public about what they're doing are a certain type of person for the most part, and including myself in that, where it's okay to kind of be under the public eye. And there's, there's various motivations for that, shall we say. Mine would be to, to try and show people, as you were describing with the group, but to try and show people and teach people that you can, like, give guidance really for, like, or signposts at least for how to develop your own practice, because it's huge and very, very overwhelming. And, a lot of the guidance that we have had in the past have not been from Irish people, and people outside the culture who were frankly just profiting off it, which is appropriation. But now, thankfully, in recent years, we have had a lot more appreciation from outside the culture, and people who are genuinely respectful and are working very hard, as you've mentioned, like people who have done and are still continuing to develop authentic practices with Irish paganism or Irish spiritual traditions. So
exactly.
So one of the reasons that I started this series actually was to try and explore that, how each person is doing it, because they are so different. And I was saying to Vinnie Woods yesterday on our journey up to Moat, we went up to a Pagan Life Rights meeting in Athlone
great.
Athlone, and your name came up, by the way. So,
okay.
But favourably, of course.
That's good. That's good. Oh, she's an awful woman, just can't get rid of her.
And so we were on the way up and back now. I've known Vinny for years and years and years, and actually I'm going to do an interview with him next year. Or sorry, next month.
So good. Yeah.
Up, yeah. But he's a priest from way back, and we were chatting away, and like there's so much that we're working in the dark, and we are just this collection of individuals who make this fucking tribe, whether you're on the island or outside the island. And we're always going to have that individualistic streak. And that's why I think it's really important, as you're doing and as I've always advocated for and have done myself, that nobody is telling us that, this is the one true way, this is the only way to do it. Like I certainly would never, ever, ever, ever even consider doing something like that. But, but just giving examples of how I've done it and how maybe you could possibly do it, but
exactly.
But that you have to kind of kick in and do the work yourself, And I think that's the core of Irish practice and Irish spirituality. I really do. I believe that the relationships that we build through putting that work in, whether with each other in community or, small groups or with the land or the sites that we work with, or, with deities or with other entities that are other worlds beings, or, entities that we might encounter. Building those relationships, I believe, is the core of an Irish pagan practice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the most important things I've been trying to do actually is, I'm not originally from Munster, I'm from Leinster because I'm originally from Dublin. But I've been trying to kind of get more of a feel and a connection to this part of the country, and kind of trying to hone in on a more local level.
Yeah.
Because there's certain figures and folklore practices that would be very, very local down here, and just trying to kind of, just sort of trying to connect with that rather than just going for like the sort of popular options as well.
Yeah.
I tried to kind of go, okay, well, what other figures are actually in the mythology and the local folklore around here, and how can I incorporate that into maybe what we do at the temple, but also what I do on a individual basis.
Yeah.
So like visiting sacred sites and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And that's like that's one of the reasons that I started doing the monthly site visits through Patreon. Now I've gone through various other sites around the country, but like the core of it was when I moved to Waterford was exactly that. I wanted to explore the sites around me, and I figured I might as well bring people along while I'm doing it anyway.
Exactly. That's one of my I'm hopefully going to learn to drive probably sometime this year. I'm looking into doing my theory test soon, but once I get a car, that's really my main motivation. Is I want to get out and actually see more places, because unfortunately public transport is not great down this end of the country, so I can only get to so many places by public transport. So it's kind of trying to work around that, and get a car so I can go in. I can go and wander up the Papsavanu if I want to, or I can go down to Gugambara, or places like that aren't easily accessible.
And then like the lesser known ones as well then, even, and like just the stuff that you stumble across. But you're right, like you do need a car going around anywhere in Ireland, for any fucking reason other than the cities. You have to have a car. Like it's just trying to rely on, unless you're going literally directly city to city, and even then you kind of have to be lucky with the routes, and the timing.
You have to know where you're going, and even that's actually something that we tried to do with the temple group, because originally we were based in Middleton, but it wasn't the easiest place to get to if you didn't have transport, and it definitely wasn't available. You couldn't get public transport to it, so we ended up moving it into the city, because we figured, okay, well, the city at least is a central place that people can go. And while we do during the summer, we usually try to go out at least once or twice a year, if not more, to outdoor places. We're usually trying to organise carpooling then, because you just can't get around. But we try to keep the moot and especially like the temple rituals actually within the city, just because we're getting a lot more people now who can actually access it, because we get an awful lot of international students, and I say the bulk of our temple attendees will be international people. So it's really nice, because we have this lovely mixture of different people from different places, and it's really nice for us all to kind of get together, and it's a nice group and a nice atmosphere. I really like it. I'm really proud of how we have a zero tolerance policy for any sort of racism or bigotry of any kind. So I think it's a safe place for people to come in and learn different things and just socialize. That sort of thing.
When I went down, to teach there, and with your group, and I was actually very very impressed by the diversity that was there for a start, and the safety, and as you described, like it was very obvious, and very well maintained, and as in the group space was very, and the relationships seemed to be very well maintained and very kind of running very smoothly, which that wouldn't always be the case.
It's hard to do that in Ireland. It's hard to get anything kind of running for properly for any length of time, really. So I'm quite happy to see that we're still going, because I suppose like we're the only sort of temple group type thing in Ireland, actually, of its kind. I don't think there's any others that I'm aware of anyway.
I have to start my group at some point.
Let me know and I'll come over and have a look.
I'm avoiding it so far. To be perfectly honest, I am a Mórrígan school of one currently.
We are neighbours in the next fort, having a wave at you.
And I think it's really interesting as well, you're talking about the provincial thing as well, because there is such a diversity between the provinces, and like it's really obvious once you kind of, when people start with the mythology and they start with the folklore and the stories and all the rest of it, and the deities, and where they're from and all the rest of it, because pretty much everybody that you have a story about is connected to a place as well, and that's something that is, I don't know, is it unique in Irish mythology, but it's certainly very, very prevalent and very noticeable. If there's a story or a set of stories, at least, there's usually a physical location that you can trace it to. Would that be right?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things I really like about, and is actually kind of an important part of our spirituality for me, is that it kind of, because I obviously have the academic background as well. If I go to a place, I will look at a place name, for example, and I'm not a fluent Irish speaker, but I did Old Irish, and I can look at a place name and go, okay, well, that's not just what it is in the Anglified version. Like, what's the original Irish mean? And it puts a story behind it. So if I go to, trying to see a good example, Oh, there's a road in Cork City, for example, called Ballyhooly Road.
Right.
And it sounds very Kilnascully sort of of a name. And it's actually, as far as I know, the original Irish is actually Ballynahoula, which means something like the townland of the apple trees.
Right.
And that gives an entirely different idea. So you get places like that in Ireland, and I like the fact that it can go anywhere in Ireland, and the place name will usually be kind of, if it's not obvious from the Anglification, because sometimes they'll have a totally different name in English for whatever reason, there's usually a story behind that. And I think that's really interesting and very helpful if you're trying to trace locally maybe what the local folklore or mythology associates with that area is, because you can look at the place names and kind of get a sense of place.
Yeah.
I think that really helps me when I go through the country. I'm always interested in what's the names of the places, what's the story behind those names, how did they come to be.
Yeah. And I've just put a resource there in the chat, and when it goes on YouTube, I'll put it in the links below. It's loganum.ie. Have I spelled that right? LOGAINM.ie.
I think so. Yeah. That's the place name database, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's a really, really useful resource, because I do exactly the same thing, and it's kind of funny like hearing you say it, because I thought it was just me, but
oh no, like I have my other half tortured with that, and even my parents are like, oh, that's such a name, that means blah blah blah, and they're like, oh, that's lovely.
Well, you see, where I'm coming from is I don't know enough fucking Irish, so
yeah, but that's me as well. That's one of the things about actually a thing to try and express my Irish spirituality is trying to learn Irish and trying to get better at it. Because I would love to be fluent at some point, and I have done Gaeltacht trips and courses and things, and it is something that I kind of want to concentrate on maybe towards the end of this year, is doing a proper full class in it again, because I really do want to be fluent in the language if possible at some point.
Same, totally. Like, it's literally a life goal. Like, I have it here in my bullet journal.
Oh yeah. I'm because I have like I don't know what type of dyslexia I have, because it's never been formally diagnosed, but I know I have it because I was told by sort of specialists and stuff that there's obviously something there. But that's something that makes learning a language quite hard for me. It takes I will learn stuff eventually. Like Old Irish is quite difficult for me to master, or at least just to understand the basics of for the longest time, because it just takes ages for that sort of thing to sink into my brain and actually make sense. So I tried to learn Irish, but I know I'll probably be still tinkering away at it 10 years from now. Nowhere near fluent.
But just for anybody listening as well, like, don't be put off by it as well. Like, it's kind of like, it is difficult to learn a language. I'm always kind of careful. I think like there's a reputation around Irish that it's really difficult to learn, and I think like when we kind of grew up with it in school, we just hated it because we had to do it. So but there's also like, and here's me picking up the colonial stick again, but like there's also the post-colonial attitudes that we have, where it's like, Irish is crap and it's no good, and it's literally being bet out of us, and we view it as like, we have this kind of deep down, even subconscious, like aversion to it in some ways. So like there is this kind of reputation that it's really, really difficult to learn Irish, and like it is difficult to learn any language, but I don't think Irish is any more difficult to learn than any other language, really.
Oh yeah, I think the biggest problem with the way Irish is taught as well is like some of my friends will tell you, I'll go on about this at length, but it's the curriculum, I think, is terrible. It doesn't foster an understanding of the language, and I just think that there's much better resources they could be using. And I mean, a lot of people are always very surprised, because I actually didn't really like Irish in school. I loved mythology and I loved archaeology, but the language itself I didn't really grow to love until I was in university. Until I started learning Old Irish, and I understood how the actual bones of how the language works and how the structure works. And when you actually understand how the structure works, it makes the language a lot easier to understand, because they don't teach the structure in the school. They just sort of throw it at you and expect you to understand it. And that's not how you learn a language. It just doesn't work like that. But yeah, I did ordinary level Irish in school, which always surprised people. I did the bare minimum, learning everything off by rote. That's literally how I got through my exams. But now I can sit down and I can pick up a copy of On Talánach, for example, The Island Man, and I have enough Irish now that I can kind of understand roughly what it's saying. I have to dig out the dictionary, but my reading of Irish is better than my spoken.
Yeah, and what was I listening to a while ago? The Mother Folklore podcast, which is fucking brilliant, actually. If
Yeah,
yeah,
I've been meaning to check that podcast out. I read the book recently and I really enjoyed it.
yeah, I'm just putting the as we go through the chat, I'm just I'm looking up the resources and just putting them in so I don't forget them.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, and also because when we're saying words like mother folklore, if you don't know the Irish, like you don't know that folklore is the Irish for dictionary, so it just sounds
Yeah.
like we're saying something completely different, which obviously is the point.
Oh
But
yeah,
there's yeah, but there's a fantastic podcast called Mother Folklore, which what was your woman's name now? I cannot remember her name. Garogine, maybe? There's a couple of them anyway that he has in as like regular guests, But
Yeah.
she's dyslexic as well, and she was saying that she had an awful hard time, like when she was in school and everything, in the English language. But then when she started to learn Irish, and it's echoing actually a little bit what you were saying with the old Irish and the structure of it. She said Irish made a lot more sense to her than English did, because there was rules to follow, with spelling and things like that, that you could actually just, if you learn the rules, then the dyslexia wasn't as much of a problem in Irish as it was in English. So
yeah, and actually one thing that I often say as well is that when they're teaching Irish in the schools, they're teaching it as if they're teaching English. Irish and English are two very different languages, and they're from two very different language families. So when you actually translate Irish properly, and you actually look at what they're actually saying as opposed to just an English translation, like a standard translation, usually it makes a lot more sense. And there's it's more lyrical sort of descriptive language, I think. And when you start looking at it from that point of view, it makes it a lot easier to understand.
Yeah.
Because I think you have to kind of forget about English, as weird as that sounds. You have to forget about how the English is structured. You have to look at what are they actually trying to express in Irish, and that usually makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And I believe then, to kind of loop back to the spiritual side of it, I believe that part of it is what, connects us, like our spirit to it, because like the expression of literally of our spirituality is through our language. And it is, it's how we, I mean, even Irish people speak in English, and I've said this in multiple different interviews, and anybody who fucking listened to me, I'll be talking about it. But like we express ourselves in a different way, even through English, and they haven't quite been able to beat it out of us, just our turn of phrase and all the rest of it. And the one John loves is to use when he's talking about stuff like this is Tá uchras orm, the hunger is upon me, is that it's not I'm hungry as in I am hungry, I'm physically hungry. It's the hunger is upon me, or Tá bron orm, the sadness is upon me, and
they're my two actual. They're the ones I use as well to explain the difference between what, it doesn't mean I am hungry. It means the hunger is on me, because emotions and feelings are on you in Irish. They're not something, you're not just, I am this emotion. It's different. It's very different in Irish to how it's expressed in English.
And it expresses a mindset. It expresses those relationships in a very different way. And I think that's that is an expression of your Irish spirituality. If you can speak any Irish, if you can read it or learn it, or I really and have always done, people are sick of fucking should read some of the reviews of my first book where I
I've read them. I actually have your book over there. Both your books, I think. Your two main books. But I have read some of the lovely reviews that you've been given over the years.
And just like the barefaced cheek of me expecting that people who were interested in Irish spirituality would be okay with hearing the names in Irish, or whatever. Like, it's just, y'all need to get over that, okay?
Exactly. And I mean, it's the same. Sure, if I was let me see, for example, if I was interested in Slavic gods, for example, I probably want to learn a little bit of one of the Slavic languages, because it would probably help you understand the mindset of it. And it'd be the same sort of thing, and you'd want to learn how to pronounce them properly.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's very important.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
At least make an effort. At least make an effort.
Exactly.
You know?
And nobody's expecting anybody to be perfect. You know, it's just
Exactly. Yeah.
but the thing is, it's useful and it's helpful as well. Like if you read the stories, even if you're reading the English translations of them, if they're good translations, and that's a whole other fucking conversation.
Oh yes, well, I've been there. I spent 3 years translating Old Irish. I know that pain.
So like if they're kind of true to form, and if they're sympathetic to the language rather than impositions of English onto the language, which some of the older translations really are, you know.
Yeah.
The like the lyricism of it, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Lyricism of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Really helps you, like even if you're not kind of consciously, even if it doesn't consciously make a difference, I really believe that it helps you physically or like emotionally or energetically tune in to the story and what the story is trying to tell you and teach you, and you're understanding things and learning things on a whole other level, you know.
Oh, definitely. Even like I'd read stories, say when I was starting college, in say a normal translation book, and then when I go to actually translate them in class or as part of a seminar, you appreciate the story on a very different level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of I think it's just having a little bit of the language can really, really help. And I mean, I'm not fluent by any stretch of the imagination, but I think, you know, having a little bit of it can really help you understand the stories and just understand like the structure that they're written in, because they're written almost a little bit like a song.
Yeah.
You know, the way they're kind of the way the stories flow.
Yeah. Okay. So, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but how important is it to you personally to be in Ireland physically? Like, have you travelled outside of Ireland much, or?
It's funny. I actually haven't been outside of Ireland since I was 8.
Really?
A lot of people are surprised by that.
That sounds amazing. I would love to.
I was just thinking that. I was like, that sounds like your heaven. Because I know you don't like leaving. No, I'm 26 now, so I actually haven't been outside Ireland. Nearly 20 years when you think about it. We just didn't really go on foreign holidays. The last holiday I was on outside the country was Portugal. But I haven't actually left the country since. And I don't know. I haven't had a chance to try. So, I mean, I don't know if, say, for example, if I decided next week that I was going to emigrate to Canada, you know, I'm sure that I would take my spirituality with me. I'm not just going to stop doing it. But I think how I would express it would probably change, because, you know, for me, it's very important for me to be able to access sites. It's very important for me just to be here, hearing the language. I don't know. I think it would be in a way, I'd love to just see what it would be like if I went on holidays and tried to practice, just to see what the differences are. Because it's very hard for me to kind of separate the land itself from the practices I do, because they're just interconnected. And I can kind of, I understand when you say how you don't really like leaving, because it's kind of, it feels very weird and just like you're being kind of sort of extracted from something. But I suppose, it's very important for me to be here. So I suppose when next time I go on a foreign holiday, which hopefully will be soon, you know, I can try it out and see how I feel.
Well, report back, but you'll have to go.
I will.
Danielle, anyway. Danielle's over in Scotland now, and she's all lonely without you, so you'll have to go and visit her.
Oh yeah, exactly. I have to go visit her, and I feel like that'd be cheating a little bit, because Scotland and Ireland are very, very kind of interlinked. So I go over there, and it's sort of like going on a bike with training wheels, and then at some point when I leave, I'm not in the Gaelic sort of area, I'll be thrown into Germany or something like that, and the training wheels will come off, and then I'll have to figure something out from there.
Well, now it's funny you mentioned Germany, because when I was younger I travelled all over Europe, right? And I didn't really kind of stay very long in any one place, was just kind of, you know, heading around. But I would have seen I don't think I went as far as Spain and Portugal, but went either in or through most of the other ones, up as far as Poland anyway. So I never went as far as Russia. But while I definitely see the similarity, like with the Irish land, with you know, Scotland and Wales to a certain extent, Scotland very much so, just, it was so different then going out across Europe, and like that would have been the first time that I was really kind of traveling. I was about 19, and it would have been the first time that I was traveling kind of anywhere, because the same, you know, we never went on foreign holidays, and England, I think, was the furthest I'd been, you know. We'd cousins in Liverpool, as so many of us do, and we would have been back and forth there. But I think I'd been to London as well on a holiday. But yeah, so going across Europe now I was adrift, actually, like adrift. And that's even, like, my practice wouldn't have even have been as deeply embedded. Now, I was very I've always been very, like, otherworld connected, but I've really worked hard with my sites relationships to kind of really bed in this world as well. A lot of that was because I was afraid I was going to get lost in the other world, and I needed to, like, put down roots here, you know. Because it's pretty close call sometimes. But yeah, getting across, and like, so this was kind of before I was really, like, as kind of rooted as I am in Ireland. But long story short, no, not even short, just to finally getting to the point. Germany, North Germany, and Poland were the most similar to Ireland that I felt. And Poland, now up around the Black Forest region in North Germany, and then on into Poland, and then from there then in through as far as Warsaw was as far as I went. And but that forest region all up around North Germany and that part of Poland was like, you know, like what the sovereignty of Ireland feels like to me. So the manifestation of the land, right?
Yeah.
It was like an older, grumpier, sleepier version of her.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was so, and I suppose actually now that I'm thinking about it, sure, that's where fucking Celtic people came from, up around the that region anyway, isn't it? Like, originally.
Yeah, they kind of spread kind of across. I suspect what would probably happen, I suppose, if I would say, for example, if I was to move to Germany in the morning, right, I suspect what would probably happen is I'd take my practice with me, but I'd probably start looking locally and see what can I incorporate in a respectful way that would allow me to connect to the place I would then be living, because I think it would be important to have some form of connection, but trying to do it in a respectful way. I suspect I'd have to read a lot of books and talk to a lot of people, but I'd probably try to learn whatever language. So if I was in Poland or Germany, I'd try to learn a little bit of those languages, or, you know, I'd look into, say, what the local river goddess was, or what the local mythology was for that region. I'd probably try to set up some sort of practice around that, in addition to maybe keeping up a sort of Irish practice as well.
Yeah, your relationship with the gods or whatever,
Yeah, exactly. I suspect that's probably what I would do. Because it's what that would make the most sense to me. It would be to kind of, you know, get involved with whatever is there locally.
Make friends with the locals. That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'd probably get involved maybe if there was a local group or something. But I presume that's probably what I would do. Probably.
Yeah, probably. Well, watch this space now. Hopefully, we're not going to lose you to Canada or Germany. But if we do,
I have no intent. I have no intentions. I very much have the intention of eventually buying a house, probably in West Cork.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad we get
here
to
forever.
Okay, I'm not even joking. I have high hopes for you, Cathy, for the future of Irish academia.
Ooh, well, I hope so. I mean, I'm planning to do another master's in probably in archiving. So I'll be doing, you know, stuff that's still quite similar to what I've done before, because I think it's quite a funny profession for someone who's interested in Irish spirituality to end up in, you know, preserving stuff. But there you go.
Yes. So does this mean that I'll have A, access to archives, and B, access to the papers porn that you used to get for me when you were in college?
Yes, you will. I suppose for anyone who doesn't know, every so often, Laura and I would kind of go, "Hey, can you get this article for me?" And it was completely grand, because I was usually in the library actually whenever you'd ask. So it's quite funny. I used to have access to it through university, and I don't have access to it at the moment, but I will soon have access again. So I will be your paper dealer.
Papers dealer. I love it. I missed
you. Fear not, it will come back.
So, okay. So this is the question that always sticks people up, right? If you could make every person beginning this path read just one book, what would it be? And I don't know if I need to rephrase it, because what I mean by it is, I should probably rephrase it. What I mean by it is, if you could guarantee that everybody that you had to deal with, the reason I didn't phrase it like this is because it's my grumpy brain where it's like, oh, why do I have to deal with people who don't fucking know the basics, right? So that's where this question comes from.
I can kind of understand you sometimes on those points. Yeah, don't worry.
So if you could guarantee that you never had to fucking talk to anybody again who hadn't at least read this one book, right? What would that book be?
Well, it's funny because that was one of the questions I spent a lot of this morning over a cup of tea thinking, okay, how am I going to answer these questions? And I ended up looking at my bookshelf, because I still have a lot of my college books and things like that. Yeah. And I think, like, while the Pagan book market for this sort of thing is obviously much better now than it was a few years ago, like with Morgan Daimler stuff, Morpheus' stuff, your stuff, and I'm sure there's other people, off the top of my head I can't think of, but there's probably other people writing great stuff. One book I think I would recommend people to read would be An Introduction to Early Irish Literature by Mórrígan ní Bhrócán. Now, it's interesting. I read this book when I was in my final year of secondary school, when I was in sixth year, because I went out to Maynooth with my dad, looking, at the open day, because I had looked at Maynooth as a university potentially I could have gone to, because they have the same course. And one of the girls at the stalls there told me, if you want to do Celtic Civ or Celtic Studies, no matter where you end up, you should probably read this particular book. And it's by a lecturer that was in Maynooth. She passed away, I think, a year or two back. But it's a really good, it's for academics, but it's also for the general reader. Now, I read this book when I was 18, so I think most people can handle it. It's a very good basis for Irish mythology, the literature, and a bit of the kind of, not so much the archaeology, but kind of the basis of it. Yeah. And I think if everyone was to read this particular book, it would really, really help people just understand the stories and the culture and just what they're getting themselves into.
Fantastic. Because you're going to have to give me her surname again. Where in the what?
Bhrócán. So it's N-I fada, B-H-R-O-L.
Yeah.
C-H.
Yeah.
A fada, I-N.
Bhrócán.
Yeah, okay. And I don't think it's not that expensive a book. I have it in paperback, but I know there's a hardback, but I think it's only about €20 or something, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, for Irish academic books, it's not too bad at all.
It's very cheap for an academic book, but it has everything in it, like, that you would kind of want to start with. Like, it has the backgrounds of general reading material. It covers the mythological cycle, the heroic cycle, the other world, cycle of the kings, the heroic biography, stuff about poets. Sovereignty is a huge thing that it covers. And it's just, I think it's a very dense book. Like, there's an awful lot of information in it. But if you actually read this book, or just even dip in and out of it as you're studying, it would be of enormous help, I think, to anybody. So that's probably the book I would recommend people read who are starting out, because I think it can really help people. Because even when I was in, like, my master's degree, I was still dipping in and out of this book because it's just so helpful. And it has some nice pictures in the centre as well, so that's always good.
Fantastic. Now we need to hurry up in this interview now, because I need to go and order this book, and I've never read it, so this is a new one on me. I'm very excited. Thank you. Oh wait, I've just muted you, have I? For fuck's sake. Hang on. Unmute Cathy. There we go. You're unmuted. Sorry, that was me.
I'm live again.
Again.
This book this book came out, I think, in 2009, so it came out about a year before I actually read it. But yeah, I think this is like one of the standard texts that they actually get you to read in Celtic Studies now in university. So like this, The Tawn by Thomas Kinsella, but I know there's a Kieran Carson version that's meant to be quite good. And I think it was Early Irish Myths and Sagas and The Celtic Heroic Age were the books that we were told were kind of the standard texts. So I think this book is probably the best of the lot, to be honest, just for getting you into it, basically.
Who was the Early Irish Myths and Sagas? Who was that by?
I think that's Geoffrey Gantz.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Penguin book. It's a little old-fashioned, but that's still a decent book as well.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you. I'm very excited.
You're welcome. It's not a very big book either. I think it's only like It's just under 200 pages, or a little over 200 pages, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. Okay, so what advice do you wish someone had given you that you would like to give people starting out on this path?
I think the advice I would give is don't panic, because there's a lot of material, like Irish folklore mythology. It's a huge corpus of material. It really is, and it can be very overwhelming when you get into it at first, like, because you don't really know what to start with, who to start with, what books you should read. It's a big thing. So I think the advice I would give is don't panic and just concentrate on one thing at a time. So, I would tell people to just maybe sit down, read the mythology first. So read a copy of the Táin, read, there's another book called Ancient Irish Tales by Cross and Slover, which is quite a good book. I was recommended that in university. That's a good book to start out with. Sit down and read some of the mythology first, and then maybe if you want to move on to other books after that, or kind of starting up a practice after that, I think that's probably the best way to start. Because I think it's very easy to get overwhelmed and feel like, I haven't read enough, I don't know enough.
Yeah.
Because I spent 5 years looking at this in university, and even I still feel that I have no idea about half the stuff I should know about. Because but I just try to remember, I've probably got another 60 odd years left in me, so I've got plenty of time. I've got plenty of time to read. So I think that's just don't panic, and maybe just start with the mythology and just work your way from there. Try not to get too overwhelmed.
Okay, so I had a question, and then I'm just going to have a quick look at Facebook, where I think Orla had a question. I'm not sure if they're the same, so I'm actually going to read out both of them, because there might be some crossover. So I actually wanted to ask the same question that you asked Orla last month, which is, what would you consider the most important aspect of your personal practice with Brigid or Brigid?
So let me think. Well, I started out, I was always interested in Brigid. I went to a Catholic school, like everyone did in Ireland, did the communion, did the confirmation, the whole shebang. But when I was actually already interested in paganism around the time of my confirmation. And as a sort of rebellious streak, I decided to pick the name of a pagan goddess, to use as my confirmation name. So that's so my confirmation name technically was Brigid as well. So I always had a bit of an interest in her, and I grew up learning to do Brigid's crosses, and I grew up in Leinster, so obviously she's quite prominent there. I grew up in the south of Dublin, so not that far from Kildare. But I think I suppose my practice with Brigid has been kind of a slow burner, and something that I've built on over the last couple of years. I originally was interested in her, and I set up a small shrine to her, and it was kind of one of those things where I kind of had to prove that I was interested. So, you probably have been here, I'm sure, plenty of times, but my friend Danielle and I went on a pilgrimage to Kildare, because I've been to Kildare lots of times, but I'd never actually been to the well. So a few years ago, I think it was in 2014, or maybe in 2014, we went by train from Cork to Kildare, and the weather was atrocious. It was heavy hailstones, rain, we were freezing. We went in, I think it was February. It was after Brigid's Day anyway, but it was the horrible time of the year for weather. And my shoes were destroyed. I think her shoes were destroyed as well, because we're both wearing Converse, which is probably not a good idea. So we had to go to a cafe, and we got there and warm up, and then go to Tesco to buy wellies because our feet were destroyed. But we did all that, and fought through the cold. I remember at one point my face was so cold that it actually went numb. And we were trying to talk to each other, and we couldn't actually get the words out because we were so cold. So I think we were being tested. But we went to the cathedral and the old sort of fire temple site. And when we got there, the sun came out, and the rest of the day was infinitely easier. So I think that was kind of, okay, you made it. Right. You're good. Yeah. So, I'll be a little easier on you for the rest of the day. So, we went there, and we went out to the well, and we dipped, we had brought Brigid's crosses with us, and we dipped them into the well water at Kildare, and I still have it, and it's actually still intact, which is surprising after being moved from house to house over the last couple of years. but it's still in great condition. But so we did that, and then I've been to the local bridge as well in I think it's Bridgeway here in Cork. There's a local well that our temple visits sometimes, and we get water from, and we use in rituals and things like that. But we go to that. I've gone to that place, and I joined a flame keeping group about 3 or 4 years ago. There's a website called ecauldron.com, I think it is, and there's a forum. It's a big pagan forum, and I've been a member of that, I think, for about 6 years or so. And they have a thing called the Cauldron Kill, so it's a flame keeping group for their members. And I joined that flame keeping group about 3 or 4 years ago, and basically about once a month or so I get given my shift, so I have to light a candle and I say prayers to Brigid. I might bring, if I have a particular working or petition I want to bring to her that particular month, or I just want to give her an offering, and I just try to build up my practice with a regular sort of flame keeping shift. And she has a permanent shrine now in my house, and she probably always will. But I suppose it's kind of just building on that relationship is probably the most important aspect of it, because it's kind of she's a kind of a deity. I feel like you kind of have to put a good bit of work in with her. She's not just someone who's just going to show up and be like, I'm here.
Is that not all the Irish deities though? Because I actually haven't. I haven't met an Irish deity or come across an Irish deity that doesn't expect that, to a greater or lesser degree like that.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I think it's just Brigid is probably one of the more kind of well-known ones, and I think a lot of new pagans kind of jump on her straight away, but I don't think they realise what they're getting themselves in for. It's a lot of work, The Mórrígan would be very similar. Yeah, I'd have a very different relationship with her, but still of a similar degree, but different, because she's her own very different kettle of fish. But it's kind of the same. Mananon would be another one that would I've have a very long-standing relationship with, but it's one of those things that's built up over time. So I think the most important aspect has just been the continuous contact, the continuous work that I've been doing with her over the few years, and just building on that, and continuing to build on that. That's probably the most important.
Yeah. And Orla, you did touch on Orla's question there, which was she wanted to ask how important the flamekeeper aspect of your practice is, or maybe how essential rather than how important. Like, so if you weren't doing that, like, would you really feel the lack of it, or like would it diminish your practice?
I don't think it would diminish, because I think I'd probably find another way of doing it, because I know like Brigid devotees who aren't flamekeepers, but I think having the regular sort of shift and feeling like you're part of a devotional group associated with her really helps me kind of get into the mindset of, okay, I'm not on my own. There's a large group of us here who are working towards this sort of devotional aspect to her. And I think it's kind of regularized my practice with her a lot more, because I'm one of those people that's very difficult to stick to a schedule. I've tried the whole, I'm going to do meditation, and I do it for like 3 weeks, and then if I'm lucky, and then I kind of stop doing it and I just sort of forget about it, and then I give out to myself 3 weeks later going, why aren't you meditating? But it's very hard for me to stick to a regular scheduled practice. I just find I'm not the kind of person who can. So I think having a regular sort of semi-regular devotional thing like that has really helped me build a proper relationship with her. Because it's something that I know that, okay, I've got another kill shift in 21 days or whatever, so I can think
there's the accountability there to it.
It's really kind of the accountability, and kind of it's like if you're organizing to meet up with a friend or something once a month, you're kind of you know it's coming up, so you'll do stuff. It kind of gives you a motivation behind it, because I need that. I'm not great with keeping to a schedule otherwise. So I think it's one of the most important things about the flame keeping was just feeling part of a group and having that regular devotional practice to help me build a relationship. Yeah.
Is that the group that Male Breed is a part of?
I'm not sure. I know there's a lot of different groups. Some of the people that run the Clan Breed Facebook group are involved in the Cauldron Kill. I think the lady who actually runs it, or one of the main people who runs it, is actually one of the main runners of the Cauldron Kill. So I know there's a connection there. So Male Breed, if they're not part of the Cauldron Kill, they're at least friends with or are part of another group with those people. So there's probably a connection there somewhere. It's a very small community.
Yeah. Okay. And do you feel that that's something that we should be doing here on the island? Like,
Well, I would like to see, like, I did a flamekeeping talk actually at our local moot about, I think it's 3 or 4 months ago, probably longer. But I did a talk on it, and there were people who were kind of interested. And I did think maybe down the line when our temple maybe has more members, you know, that we might start up a flamekeeping group for the temple. But I know that there's obviously like a group in Brigid, which I haven't actually been there because they were actually still building it when I was in Kildare last. Right. So so I have to go and visit there and light my candle from that. But no, it's I would like to see maybe more of a pagan group doing it, or just more people getting involved in those kind of flamekeeping things, because it's not really something that I've come across really, unless you're looking for it. It doesn't tend to get mentioned in a lot of even pagan books and things, as this is actually a really good idea as a practice. And I think it's probably something someone could even do on their own if they wanted, you know, if they had a set time that they set a candle on every night or something, you know. I think it's something that could be useful, you know, within the Irish community.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be an eternal flame, like,
no,
you know, it is just that having that regular thing. I mean, I have a thing here. I have like my mini altar here beside my desk, and you know, a lot of my work that I do is dedicated to the Mórrígan. You know, because it is literally for her or about her or teaching on her a lot of the time anyway. But even stuff that's not, it still takes the effort of it, you know, and I basically I'd offer it up in return for success in my work, you know. So,
I do similar stuff, and like 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 recently with the Eighth Amendment referendum that happened, I set up a small shrine to Macha to ask her for help, because I figured, you know, I asked Brigid as well, but you know, Macha I think was kind of really someone that I wanted, you know, to get on side for this. So I do think she was very much on side. But you know, even now I'm looking at it, there's like an image of her, and you know, there's a candle lighting, and I've got my 2 badges from the campaign sitting there on her altar, and you know, I made offerings to her and all this sort of thing. But you know, so kind of trying to do it in exchange for, you know, give us a bit of a hand here, but you know, I will do something for you, because I think I don't like the idea of using the gods as like a vending machine.
No,
you know, I think it's and the Irish gods don't tend to take well to that. So I'm sure you'll agree, it's not a good idea. Don't go there, because it's the same as like an Irish person. Like, don't just go up and demand us to do something, because it's not going to end well.
That's exactly it, you know. And it's like, you wouldn't just walk into somebody's fucking house and say, you know, I'm taking this now, this is yours, and you know, you're very good at it, and you obviously have a lot of it, so I'm just going to take it now, you know.
Exactly.
You don't fuck off, like. And the Irish gods have their ways of telling you to fuck off in no uncertain terms.
Oh, they do, and you know, you will know very quickly, and very you know, you won't be under any illusions that you've messed up in any sense. But no, it's I can understand. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a strange thing that I do keep an altar myself, like, and I have like little shrines and things like that that I do work at and stuff. But it's just, you have to make the effort kind of in your ordinary life as well, I think, to kind of help build that relationship.
Yeah. So I just realized that the slide is wrong, because I forgot to change it for how to get in touch with you. So what I'm going to do is I have posted the link to the temple, Well of Wisdom, in the chat. So I will feature that. As I said, I'll feature that in the links below the YouTube and all of that. Is there anything else? Like, is that okay for getting in touch with you, or would you like?
Probably the best way to get in touch would be, like, I'm usually floating around on the Irish Magic and Spirituality group, but we have our Facebook page for Temple Well of Wisdom in Cork, but we also have a Facebook group that's kind of connected to. So perfect. I mean, if people wanted to contact me, probably the best way to do it would be to message the temple page and just be like, I'm looking for Cathy, blah 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 blah, whatever they want to ask.
Perfect. Well, I've put the link to the Facebook group there, so but I mean, you know, you're easy found, really. Through that,
pretty much. And you know, I don't bite, so I mean, I you know, if someone wants to ask me a question, like, I don't think I'm that scary. So Yeah, so that's grand.
I mean, I'm sure you can be, but generally you're not.
Generally, no, I won't. I won't. I don't bite. I'm not very tall either, so I'm not particularly intimidating.
Not very tall. Understatement
yeah.
of the century.
Yeah, because we got that picture of us together the last time you were down in Cork. I am rather petite. So yeah.
Small but perfectly formed.
Yeah, we'll say that. Midget is what I would normally say, but yeah.
Small but perfectly formed. Good things come in small packages, and all those lovely things that they say about small people that I always kind of resented growing up, you know.
But to be tall would be great because I'd be able to reach things.
There's swings and roundabouts, girl, believe me.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the chat. And
thank you for asking me. And
you're very welcome.
Yeah, I hope my accent isn't too off-putting. My lovely Cork Dublin mashed together accent that's becoming. I'm getting an awful lot of slagging because of it. It's because I don't know that I sometimes when I go up to Dublin for a couple of days and I come back, everyone's just like, God, you really sound so Dublin right now. And then when I go home, I get told you sound like a culture. So it's like I can't win.
Yeah, no, that's just the in between thing. They're noticing the differences, but to anybody outside Ireland, your accent is perfectly clear. Believe me.
Oh, that's good. I've become a liminal person when it comes to my accent, so I'm liminal in more ways than one.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much, and I will see you around, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Ireland's a small place. We can't get away from each other, all of us.
Plus, we live online together, so, you know.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. You're my neighbour, so that's fine.
Okay, so slán, Cathy.
Slán. Gur magat. Slán.